What is up, you guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Mackenzie. If you're not new, thank you for coming back. So today I want to try something totally different. It is in the glass realm. As you can see, I've got my normal grinder right here, and I also have the Taurus ring style because we are definitely going to be using them both for this little project. I want to try to make some coasters. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. I already put tape over it to kind of help laminate it. Let me get closer. So here's my idea. I want to make coasters like this, glass on the outside, epoxy in the center where all these shapes are, or some type of two-part epoxy. So with that being said, I want to try to make some coasters like this. We're going to be using the regular grinder, the regular grinding bit, a hole bit, and then the separating blade for the Taurus ring saw 3. So I'm super excited to be able to finally crack into that separating blade. If this sounds like something you're into, let's get started. All right, guys, so before we actually do anything, like I said, I already made these stencils. Let me get closer. So here's my idea. And I want, like I said, glass on the outside and to fill these center spots with epoxy. So that means we're gonna have to use our hole bit and our separating blade on the Taurus ring saw to be able to cut these shapes out of the center. So first thing we need to do is cut out our stencils, use an X-Acto knife to cut out the shape in the middle. Then we can actually cut our circles of glass and get to grinding. So I'm just gonna speed through that really quick. If you guys have any questions as far as actually cutting glass, I do have an older video on my channel, which I do plan on redoing because there's just an endless amount of information, and of course I want to keep updating as I grow with my YouTube channel. So I will do an updated video, but there is tons of information jam-packed in that one already. Of course, I will link it down below. So I'm gonna speed through cutting these out and actually cutting out our circles of glass. All right, so I'm only cutting out one of these because all of these circles are the same size, and these are what we need to keep. So this is what we'll trace onto our glass circles after to get our stencil to cut out on the Taurus ring saw. So we just need to trace this onto 4 different pieces of glass since they're all the same size circle anyway. All right, guys, picked out my glass. I want to do a cool black oil slick since it's for Halloween, and I'm gonna keep all 4 of them this color. It is always good to have 100% acetone just kicking around in your glass shop because this will immediately remove any Sharpie you have on your glass if you need to erase it and start over. All right, guys, so we have got our 4 little perfect circles cut out. The next thing we have to do is grind our edges and use the hole bit to drill a hole directly in the center. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way, fill water into my water basin on my grinder so we can grind all these edges. Then we'll take our stencils, put them down. That way when we drill our hole with our hole bit, we know it's right where we need it to be when we take it to cut it out on the Taurus ring saw. Hopefully that makes sense, but you'll see as we go. So I'm gonna set this up so we can start grinding off these edges. All right, guys, so I got my water basin filled. I've got my safety glasses right here and on. I have my bucket of fresh water to the left side right here. So as soon as I'm done grinding these edges, we can just throw them right in that fresh water bucket. That way it has a pre-bath to the sink bath, so we're not putting anything down our actual sinks and ruining our pipes. You gotta wash them a couple times before you take it to the sink. Okay, so again, all we're doing here is just grinding off our outside edges, then we're gonna start working with the hole bit. All right, guys, so we have ground all 4 of our circles. They are sitting right here in this water bath. I'm gonna take them out, dry them off. That way we can draw our stencils on and put our first holes through. with our hole bit. That way, once we actually get to the Taurus ring saw, we've got a hole to place that separating blade inside. All right, so now all I'm gonna do is just quickly sketch on where all of our shapes are roughly going to go. That way, when we're drilling our holes with our hole bit, we're not way off base as to where we're actually going to start to cut on the Taurus ring saw, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. So now that we have a general idea of where our center hole needs to go, well, really, it doesn't even need to be a center hole. As long as you get the hole drilled somewhere through the middle of your stencil, it's not gonna matter. Because again, once we get to our Taurus ring saw and have the separating blade, we're gonna be able to start cutting from the middle of absolutely anywhere out to our outer edges of the stencil. So now what I'm gonna do is just switch out the bit so I can put the hole bit on top and start drilling our holes. All right, now we are ready to actually start drilling holes. So all I'm going to do is keep water close by so I can continuously soak this sponge and hold it up against this hole bit. So I'm gonna put on my safety glasses and get to drilling. Alrighty, that's it. That is all 4 holes. So I'm going to clean this mess up, sweep up, empty my grinder, and get the ring saw over here. All right, guys, so I just switched out the blade to the separating blade. So here's the normal one. I've got the separating blade in there now. But I just wanted to mention, when I went to go check the tutorial to make sure I was doing it right, I wanted to double check that I was putting the pulley back on and whatever. The tutorial for changing blades on this thing, not only from the manufacturer, but all over YouTube, are horrific. People are taking off like 5 pulleys and different things when none of those need to come off. Only one needs to be loosened and the foot needs to be removed. But all the tutorials out there for replacing or changing blades are so bad. So if that's something you guys are interested in, if you want me to do an actual tutorial on just changing the blades on this thing, let me know in the comments below and I can definitely do that. All right, so per the manufacturer, I am going to fill up the water line to get to just about halfway up that first blue pulley down here. All right, guys, water is filled to our water line. I'm going to put this grate back on top. Make sure everything is in proper place. And one more thing to mention, just like I said in my first Taurus ring saw video, if you have hard water, you want to try to avoid putting that inside this machine. It will add extra wear and tear that you don't need to do. So if you have hard water, try to get distilled water. If you can't get distilled water, then just add a cap full of vinegar or apple cider vinegar into your water, and that will help with the hard water situation. All right, I don't have hard water, so I've got my water filled. The next thing I'm gonna do is just make sure I can visibly see all of my stencils on all 4 of my soon-to-be coasters, which I can't see them that good, so I'm just gonna retrace them really quick, then we can get to the fun part. All right, that's better. Now I'm feeling much more confident that as soon as I start grinding, the Sharpie isn't gonna just disappear. Okay, so now that we've got the separating blade on here, is a little more interesting. Let's pull this off. Gotta pull your case off. And what you would do is remove it from that pulley. That way our tension has loosened. And then we should be able to open the separating blade. Now because I have nails, I'm gonna try it with pliers. Yep, So now that we've separated our blade, I'm just gonna take my glass, lift that part of the blade up, slide it in without scratching it, and reattach the blade. Make sure that is fully connected inside there. You don't want that to be loose. Now we're gonna go back over to our pulley. Lift the belt up and around. Now let's go counterclockwise. Everything is spinning. Now we can turn our power back on and we're good to go. All right guys, we're plugged back in, putting safety glasses back on. Our casing is back on. Our separating blade seems to be back together. So I'm gonna hold it kind of in the center and turn it on to make sure everything's spinning well. I'm kind of afraid these belts or these blades, I guess, can break. So I'm nervous that that's gonna happen. Here we go. Awesome. First one's done, guys. So now we gotta do the same thing over and over again for all 4 of these pieces. Open up the case, turn the power off, remove the pulley, open the blade, take this piece out, put a new one in, and so on. All right guys, so I finished cutting out and washing all of our little soon-to-be coasters. Lost the word. Okay, cut out all of our soon-to-be coasters. Obviously, we still have to solder our edges once we're done putting the resin in the center. So we have resin to do, the outside soldering edge to do, and the reason I want to do it in that order is because we're going to have to stick these down as tight as possible to a flat surface. That way when we pour the resin in, it can harden flat on the bottom. And if we solder our edges, it's going to make it uneven and harder to do that. So we're going to have to put our resin in first, then solder the edges. But since we still have that to do, I think I'm gonna leave today's video right here, and then there will be a part 2 of the resin and the soldering. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. If you guys want to see that video about changing blades on the Taurus Ring Saw 3, please also let me know. There are horrifically bad tutorials out there, so let me know in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check the description down below if you want to check out my stained glass work and my stained glass business. And if not, I'll see you next time. I'll see you really soon to upload part 2. Bye!